Hi, my name's Elena Strickbine. I write The Green Beret Barber of Orange Street. This is my first Instagram story, and I wanted to do an Instagram story to kind of explain to everybody a little bit more about the book and what I'm doing and kind of what this whole project is about. So it's really hard to encompass it in the 1,500 characters that Blogger gives you to explain what you're doing. So the book is huge. So anyway, my husband's filming this. He's gonna follow us around. We're in our bedroom slash office right now because this is where I sleep and work, and I could watch TV because we have a TV, but I never do because I just sleep and work in here. This is kind of the book in total. So these files are basically everything that I have written up to this point. So I started doing this about a year after I started with the book. So you can see by 2020, that's a lot of material that I've written. Most of this is notes because this is actually going to be, by the time it's done, about 7 or 8 books. So this is all notes from different parts of the story, different things that are going on. My current amount of information I've actually written down about it, it's just a mess that nobody could actually read, even if they wanted to, although it makes sense to me. So anyway, that's kind of what I've gotten done on the book so far. These are the research articles that I have not yet filed. And then these big boys are all of my research article notebooks that I have actually filed and put away so that when I'm working on different parts of the story, I can pull out interesting details, interesting historical facts, things that I think bring the story more to life and that can teach me something about what I'm writing about. At the end of the day, this story is really the story of 5 different genies. So I'm kind of developing a whole world and system of lore for them. So I'm going away from genies as the concept of jinn, like the D-J-I-N-N. That's kind of more of an Eastern concept. I'm moving more towards kind of a Western idea of genies and bottle conjurers. So we're going kind of totally Western Civ on this whole thing. And I'm kind of developing an entire framework of lore to make my 5 genie stories work. So every genie story has its own origin story. These will be long and in-depth, and I can't wait to write them because they all take place in the ancient world, and I love the ancient world. So my 5 genies are my green genie, my red genie. These two have their own separate files because their origin stories are unique to different periods of history, and there is a lot to know about those periods of history. So these 2 genies are also involved with the 2 historical families that will 5 genies, 4 families, 2 old historical families that the genies are going to center around in the past, 2 modern families, the Andersons and the Watsons. Of course, Alexander Anderson is the Green Beret Barber of Orange Street. The Anderson story kind of is the foundation of everything, even though I won't technically be writing about them till later. Originally, I thought this whole thing would start with Anna Anderson's memoirs. Turns out the story works better another way. This is my purple, black, and blue genie file, the bruise, I suppose, purple, black, and blue. The purple, black, and blue genies all have their roots. Their stories are all disparate, but they all take place around and about the same period of history and definitely in the same region. So most of their notes all go together. The black, blue, and purple genies, I would say, have more of a role in the latter parts of the story, meaning the more modern parts of the story. The red and green genies more connect the past. So basically the way I'm going to do this is I'm starting with the Watsons. I'm going to break into the purple genie somewhere in the middle of the Watson story. and then I will finish the first part of the Watson story. After that, because I think there's a very important reason I want to do this, I'm going to bust into the Blue Genie's origin story, and that is going to give me the basis that I need to move into the Andersons, or the Green Beret Barber of Orange Street story. So, anyhow, that's a little bit about the work that I've done. These are my bookshelves. This is my current reading list. Right now I'm reading Self-Reliance by Ralph Waldo Emerson. It might be the most boring book I've ever read. But mostly research books, a lot about ancient Egypt, a lot about ancient Greece, a lot of mythology. So, like, for example, I've got my library of Greek mythology. I'll be needing to basically learn everything in this book in order to tackle my old genies. But anyhow, that's kind of an idea. It's a huge project. I kind of think of it as my masterwork. I'll be working on this forever, and I'm pretty excited about it. I've always wanted to have a huge project that I could work on forever, and now I have one. And the nice thing is, and I actually somewhere, might even be in here. Oh, look, it's my key. So I actually do have a key written down, and this would make no sense to anybody. I just want to show that it exists. This is my key. This explains how all the different stories go together. I have the beginnings and ends of where everything starts and goes, and I don't want anybody to see too much. But anyway, so it's about 20 different points of transition between these stories. But I've already got it all mapped out in my head. And the nice thing is about this story is I knew the end before I knew anything else about it. And it's like the story just kind of, the more I worked back through it, the more it kind of ballooned. And there were 2 different times that I thought I had the beginning, and it turns out I was wrong, but I now have the real beginning, which is the Watsons, and everything works forward from the key from that. So as soon as I figured that out and I was able to put together a key, I knew I could finally hit the ground running, get a new website put together, which I'm really excited about. I have some changes I want to make to the first few Watson chapters. I'm going to kick out the Jane Doe section. I think that was just a little rough for people to read. Besides, it will actually go better with some of the how to deal with the haunting stuff. So that's about the only major change that'll be made there. But the new website will be very concise. And my loving husband, who's filming this for me right now, is going to be putting that together for me. Basically, my plan is to finish chapter 14 that I'm working on now. It's currently 40 pages long. And I'll finish that. And then when that is done, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to take the 3 or 4 chapters I've written, starting with the tour bus that have been written prior. I'm going to go through, I'm going to edit them for the few small changes that I need to make just to make it all really what I want it to be. Boom, that's all going up on a new website. And I'm going to figure out what to do about the old website. How to Deal with a Haunting is its own related story. It's a memoir of one of the characters. It feeds into and relates to the Green Beret Barber of Orange Street story, but it is not exactly the same work. So I'll probably keep that open for that project when I get back into it later. I have plenty written on it, but it's more important to me now to begin from the beginning. So anyway, that's a little bit more than 1,500 characters worth about the book. These are my cats. My favorite writing buddies, that is Samson, who is black and has a little patriotic collar. And then this is my stripy chicken. So they like to sleep during the day and they keep me company while I am writing. All right, so here I am at my desk. It's a very exciting place to be with my television. I never watch because all I do in here is work at this desk or sleep in that bed. Outside this window is a lovely view of Oklahoma. If you've never been here, it's actually pretty nice. I like it, lots of open space. Anyhow, what I am currently doing here, this is some more of my notes. These are some of those research articles I was showing earlier. Some that I've pulled out because I'm currently using them. Like this is my transcontinental railroad glossary of terms. It's been very useful to me. I know nothing about the railroads, but my character happens to own one, so I have been learning a lot more than I ever thought I would. It's actually pretty interesting. More just random notes, things on Post-its, everything like that. This is my gem. This is a different work, a very smaller work that I'm not going to have any time to work on for a long time. This is my big notebook that matters to me very much, because this is where, like, whenever I think about how all my genie lore works, or how specific things in the stories all work together, because at the end of the day, it's 4 families, 2 famous historic families, and 2 modern families that I completely made up, and 5 genies. And all of it works together and all comes to the same end in the same place. So, and what's funny is it ends in the same place it starts, so there's a little bit of a, oh, don't look at this because that's a different work. I don't have any time for that one right now. And that's a simple book. That's a very, very simple book. It'll be fun if I ever have time for it. So anyhow, this is very important to me, and then of course, whatever I'm thinking is most important at the moment that I just don't know where else to put. So this is my lovely iPad that I do all my work on. Currently, this is where I am with the Chapter 14 edit. Basically what I do is I put together a rough draft, I print it out, I read through it, I make changes, I go through and I do a first draft. This is the first draft. So as you can see, I'm on page 63 of putting these changes into my computer. The second draft should be, after this is done, the second draft will be very well put together. I'll go through it one more time until I have a finalized third draft. I'll have my wonderful hubby, who is a very good editor, since he went to the School of Journalism. Yes, he did, and he graduated, and he did a good job. He's a very good editor. Did you flip me off? Better not have. So anyway, but the whole point of this Instagram story is it does take me so long to go through my process that I wanted to share some of what's actually done, because the first half of the chapter is done. All of my clues are almost all from the end of the chapter, and I know I've had terrible problems with consistency of clues, consistency of pictures, and I'm really trying to work that out. It's just that I would get ahead of myself thinking I could get to certain points in the story that are all going to happen. They just haven't happened yet. However, the 8 clues for this chapter will all be happening within this chapter, and it will still be called Chapter 14 until it goes up on the new website and becomes like Chapter 5, I think. So anyway, this is the first few pages of the new chapter. I'm entitling it Newport, Rhode Island. So I'm just going to read this for a few minutes. I picked a good spot to begin and end. So I'm just going to begin at the beginning and end where I kind of picked as a good stopping point. It is not quite to where that first post was. I think the first pages I posted were chapter 41, 42, or something like that. It's going to take us to about page 39. Right now I'd say through page 55 is solidly done. Anyhow, without further ado, and I really want to appreciate everybody for watching this, any comments, support, hey, even criticisms, I'll take them. I love to hear what people have to say. This is kind of my life's work, if you will. So anyhow, it's certainly going to take me 20 to 30 years to write it, so it's my life's work. I will write the other story too when I get to a 25% done with this, maybe? I don't know. But this is what I'm doing right now, so let's begin.